Welcome to the next episode of Girls Are Players Too. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am the mama.
And I'm the daughter.
And today is June 19th.
Yes.
It happens to be Juneteenth Day.
Woo!
All across the world.
Yay.
And it's a special holiday. And Juneteenth is a fairly new federal holiday where we commemorate the abolishment of slavery for Black people throughout the United States.
We're gonna give it up for that.
Hey!
Give us free.
So, I mean, we celebrate Juneteenth. I know back in Milwaukee, it was always a special day. But like I said, it just became a federal holiday where we acknowledge the President Abe Lincoln through his Emancipation Proclamation declared that slavery was abolished. But that actual document was written a couple years before it actually happened. So we celebrate Juneteenth because it took like 2 years for the word to get to the Black people that they were free.
Yeah, but I'm just looking forward to today. We have down on MLK Drive parade, like going miles and miles from like 9 to 4. And then Summerfest, I'm sure y'all are familiar with Summerfest, one of the biggest music festivals in the world, starts today. And so it's just very fitting that Juneteenth is today, and we have a lot of music happening at Summerfest today. I know the Isley Brothers will be there tonight, Eric Benet. We are kicking off. We're kicking off Summerfest, but doing Juneteenth right. Just, like I said, today is the parade, and then all the things happening at Summerfest tonight. So, happy Juneteenth. It is an opportunity for us to just give, show our love and commemorate, the people before us that went through slavery and got a chance to be free, but it's still a lot of work to be done.
Lots of work to be done, but lots of activities throughout the country.
Yeah.
I know out in Seattle, lots of festivals and events. I'm actually attending a conference in Portland today that I'll be speaking. So I'm excited for that. A shout out to Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Their regional conference starts today in Portland. So it's just, as you said, an opportunity to acknowledge the evolution of change, and just to even think about the fact that there was a time when, as a Black person, we were considered slaves, how far we've come as a country, the growth, the advancements, the humanities that go into just being considered equal. I'm excited, but it's also a day to get some barbecue, so I hope I can
sure
get it
is.
right. So, okay, let's get into this. So, Game 5 was on Monday.
Yeah.
And OKC prevailed, so I had to wear orange again, orange and blue, sticking with my superstitions because they've been winning since I've been in orange. Game 5, they won, pretty much had control of the game from start to finish. But then Tyrese Halliburton got hurt. So that puts a damper on some things because now you got Game 6 tonight. And we don't know what I'm sure he's playing. I would highly doubt that he's not going to play.
As an athlete who has seen many injuries, the way the way the series I feel like has shifted when Game 5 happened, I personally don't think that Tyrese Halliburton should play today. Because we're seeing more ACLs and Achilles injuries happen, and for one game, I mean, I understand the heroics of Tyrese Halliburton over the playoffs, but what is it worth for one game if not putting it in the air, but just we don't know the magnitude of this injury. So one game, I mean, they made it to the finals. They have done more than what a lot of people imagine, and just to, I would say, preserve him and get him healthy, because again, I don't know the extent of his injury. He said if he can walk, he can play, but
Well, it's a calf strain, and typically a calf strain can lead to an Achilles.
right.
And but I can't see him not playing. I think when you get to this point, if like he said, if he can walk, he's gonna play. I just think that it's gonna be do or die. I mean, that's how they go into this. That's why you have top level medical staff and trainers and whatnot. They will prepare him as best as they can. But one of these teams is about to raise the Larry O'Brien Trophy, and it's interesting because both teams, when people talk about the history of these teams, some people will say, "Oh, it's going to be their first championship," but both teams have history that presents itself that they've won championships before. So let's talk about that for a second. So we
Yeah,
talked about Juneteenth. Let's keep it with giving history, right? Okay,
history. We're historians
that's
today.
right. That's right. So
So
okay, go. You
yeah,
go. You
I
go.
was just gonna say. So let's look at OKC's history, okay? Because if you think about them as a team, if you know the history, they were the Seattle Supersonics. Like they moved or transitioned. I can't say merged because Oklahoma City Thunder was a new location, but that's what the team was, the Seattle Supersonics. So like Gary Payton's and Kevin Durant's, he was drafted to the Seattle Supersonics. So since you're in Seattle, I think you fit to give a little bit of the history behind a championship for them.
Well, their championship was in 1979, which was a very pivotal year. We're going to talk about 1979 and a couple things. So, Magic Johnson was drafted in 1979 to the Lakers. We'll mention the Lakers again later and
Hmm.
why 1979 was significant. But during those years, the Seattle Supersonics, I mean, they were beloved in this community. And I remember I used to work for the Milwaukee Bucks, and when Ray Allen got traded to Seattle, it was like,
Hmm.
oh
Yeah.
no.
Yes.
So I mean, he even was a supersonic.
Yeah.
And you talk about Kevin Durant. They drafted Kevin Durant number 2 in 2007. So he played 2007, 2008. That was the last year that Seattle Supersonics were what they were, and then the
Hmm.
team relocated to OKC. So their first year playing as the Oklahoma City Thunder was 2008, 2009. Now, when the relocation happened, it was determined that they would share the team's history. So wherever the team was, they would share history. So that's why you can't say that it's not OKC's first championship because it was a relocation. However, they weren't able to keep the name Supersonics.
Right.
So that's why they're called the Thunder, which is interesting because all of a sudden now there's a chance that a team is coming back to Seattle. So if that
Right.
happens, what happens?
What
Like,
does that look like?
correct.
Like, so if there is a team that goes back to Seattle, does the Oklahoma City Thunder have their own history? Like, does it then separate, or what does that
Correct.
look like?
I don't. I honestly, I have no idea. That's the end of that history lesson. I don't know. But
It ends
I'm
there.
curious because, like I said, they've tried to preserve the history of the franchise, but because there's a chance that this team or the name, the city, could actually come back, and then will they be resurrected as the Supersonics?
Right.
So stay tuned for that. But
Interesting.
now Indiana, on the other hand, they were a professional team through the ABA, the American Basketball Association, and they won 3 championships, one back to back, 1972, 1973, as the Indiana Pacers. But they moved into the NBA during the 76-77 season. So since that season, they've been in the NBA, which is why people would say, "Oh, it's their first championship," but it's not.
It's not, because they've had that name since
Correct.
the dawn of time. So, you
And
know,
it's been some notable players from Indiana,
yeah.
Reggie Miller, Mark
Uh-huh.
Jackson,
Paul
Detlef,
George.
right? It just, I mean, Detlef Shrimp is who I was gonna say, but I mean, it just so to see a Shea Gilgeous Alexander repping OKC, to see a
Hmm.
Tyrese Halliburton repping the Indiana Pacers. There's a lot of history with both franchises,
Absolutely.
but both franchises have this fragmented historical connection, and so like I said, to me, it's the first whatever because it represents the National
In this
Basketball
lifetime.
Association.
Yes. Yes. So tonight, OKC can be the winners and in this series, or Indiana can just, because they're back at home, they can win it. It'd be 3-3, and then Sunday is that's it. That's game 7. So I'm interested to see. It's 2 games left. Well, technically, but we'll see, because the Thunder are up 3-2. So can they take care of business in Indiana, or will the Pacers just find a way to limp through and get through to game 7 on Sunday? So,
Well, you know who I'm rooting for.
well,
I'm not
yes.
gonna make a prediction, but you know who I'm rooting for.
And we actually are complimenting each other. You have the
Okay,
orange, I have the blue. Well, that's my favorite color, but
right.
it works out. So, uh,
All right.
but
Well, we gonna be
we're gonna keep with champions because it's championship season right now, and a sport that we actually have not talked about a lot because, uh, uh, but the Florida Panthers are back-to-back champions in the NHL. That is the National Hockey League. We're going to give it up one time for them.
okay. So that's the Stanley Cup, which
Yeah.
is the coveted award in NHL. And it's so funny that you show that picture because they damaged their trophy.
Yeah, not too long after raising it up. Yes. Yes.
So they were partying hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But hockey is definitely a sport we don't talk much about.
Mm-mm.
But it actually
Mm-mm.
runs concurrent with the NBA season, which is it's interesting but yet kind of weird because it's an indoor sport, so it makes sense that it would be played when it is. But
Uh-huh.
it's a long season. It starts in October and it goes till June. I mean, it literally runs the same as the NBA
Yeah.
schedule. And a lot of these teams, their venue is in arenas where
But
NBA teams
basketball teams
play.
play.
So,
Mhm.
like, I remember the Bradley Center, and when we played, when the Bucks used to play before Fiserv was constructed, and there's ice underneath the basketball floor. It was always freezing in the arena. Because you're not pulling up this ice, but you got
No.
to make sure that it's not gonna create condensation on the basketball floor. But Yeah, we don't talk about hockey enough, and we did actually mention it in our best of, and I was all with Mark Messier. That's my favorite NHL player from
Wayne Gretzky.
history, and you mentioned the great one.
Yep.
But shout out to Florida Panthers. Now,
Yeah.
back-to-back championships in hockey is not unheard of because
No.
it hasn't been done for a while with the NBA, but for them to get back-to-back and they defeated the Edmonton Oilers. I think that's significant to be able to call that out. So kudos to the Florida
Yeah.
Panthers.
Shout out to them. Congrats.
So we got some other random sport topics to talk about. So do you know the name Joey Chestnut?
It doesn't ring a bell to me.
Joey Chestnut.
Joey
Okay.
Chestnut. Well, Joey Chestnut is this guy.
Oh yes. So Joey Chestnut is the he is being mentioned because, and we're laughing because this is actually a sport, okay? The National Hot Dog Eating Competition is happening soon, and Joey Chestnut had won this competition 16 times. 16 times, Brittany. His last championship was in 2023, and he ate 76 hot dogs. That was the record. 76 hot dogs.
I don't even like one hot dog.
Oh, I love hot dogs.
I'm a brat girl. Wisconsin all
Okay.
the way.
Okay. But now, what's crazy about this, which is why this story is relevant, is in 2024, Joey Chestnut was banned from the competition. It's called the Nathan's hot dog eating competition. He was banned because he signed an endorsement deal with Impossible Hot Dogs or Impossible Foods, and that's a competitor of Nathan's, right? So they banned him from competition because you repping the non meat,
Vegan. Yeah, the
right? And
vegan side
so
of
it's
things.
like he's trying to get his paper, and they were like, "Well, you can't compete." So that was controversial. So the guy who won it last year, he only ate 58 hot dogs, and I say only because he didn't get to 76, but that's still a lot.
Ridiculous.
It's still a lot. And that includes the buns. Like they're not just eating
That's
the wing. Like
nasty.
yeah. But
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at this because I, I can't imagine. Like when in a setting, if I eat, I've had hot dogs, off a grill, amazing, great, or a brat, two, and I'm done because you include the bread, and it's like, dang, I'm full. 70, 50 in itself is like okay, but 76, and I mean to actually see pictures of him just taking these back.
I mean, yeah, and then they drink milk while they're eating because they got to try to not let the juices from the hot dogs because I mean it to me it would give me a gag reflex to shove it
Yes,
down your throat,
yes.
but but okay, so 2025 he now gets to return to the competition because he signed a contract with Nathan's for 3 years so that he can get back to competing. So, and the competition, like I said, is coming up. It's in Coney Island, New York. But to me, that this was something that we had to mention because I don't think people, this is a thing, like
This
16
really
years
is a
this
thing.
dude won.
Yes.
And he's not a big
16
guy.
years. No, not at all. 16 years is that. That is wild. But you know what? I'm going to give it up for Joey Chestnut because, in sport, people make a name for themselves. Is this a sport? Sure, sure. We'll say it's a sport. Because you are holding it down for decades almost. Like that is
Well, I'm gonna call it a sport. If ESPN is covering it, it's
it's
a
true.
sport, right?
It's true.
And if there's a trophy to be won to the point where this dude got banned, it must be something. So, okay, now we gonna transition to something other random. Shador Sanders was obviously has been trending in the news. Played
Yep.
for Colorado with his dad, Deion Sanders. Um, he was projected to be a top draft pick, slid to the fifth round, ended up going to the Cleveland Browns, and their quarterback room was already packed.
Hmm.
Another quarterback was picked ahead of him. You know, people talking about how he got to be more humble. He needs to be more focused on his craft and whatever the narrative has been. This dude just got cited for driving 101 miles per hour, and it's like,
Why?
where are you?
Where
Why,
you
where are
going?
you going? And it was in a Dodge truck. Like it wasn't like a Porsche or a Corvette. It's like, why
God,
are
they
you?
got the Chargers. The Chargers are, if you put a like a SRT or whatever, you can get to that speed. So, um, yeah, my thing is here's my take, because you just gave a little bit of insight into what he's endured over the past few months, just with the NFL draft and his stock drop and all of this. Do the people know more about this kid than what we see? Because we were all like, oh, Shador is prime time son and this and that, and he should go with this. But is there more to Shador? I'm
Well,
wondering.
the thing is a lot of these, because the Georgia Bulldogs football team, a lot of them recently have been cited for reckless driving, speeding in particular. And a couple years ago, there was an accident where one of their staff people and a player were killed in an
Yep.
accident because they were racing
Yeah.
another player. And it's like, yes, the spotlight is on you. I mean, it's on you. And so, yes, you're 23, 24 years old. You got to make better choices and
Yeah.
better decisions
Yeah.
because, I don't know if you remember, but a couple years ago, there was an NFL player. His name was Henry Ruggs. He just was in the news recently because he wanted to be able to speak at a Juneteenth event, and he was racing, driving fast, and killed a woman and her dog. And he's serving prison time because of that.
Yeah.
And, because somebody was killed. So it's like, Shador, you are, you haven't even had your first snap in the
Right.
NFL. Do is this what shouldn't you be mindful, because there's nothing good that can happen at 101 except a high five
Yeah.
and that you did it, right?
Right. And you made it
But
to
there's
your
a lot
destination.
bad that can happen at
Yeah.
that speed.
And when we talked about this a few episodes ago with Anthony Edwards being the face of the NBA, and similar thing here, it's like your normal is not our normal. Like, you, not only are you Deion Sanders' son, but you are now making a name or establishing your brand for yourself. So having fun doing stuff like that, yeah, it may have been hush hush back in Colorado or in your hometown or whatever, but ev like the media it's unfortunate that it's like, what will he do next? What's going to happen next? How is he going to do this and that? And like I said, it's unfortunate, but you have to hold yourself to a different standard. Some things just can't happen because it will be we know how the media spins things. Like, is he acting out because of how his stock dropped when he was draft? All things, and this is just me putting that out there. So I know the media will definitely look like they are eating at the fact that you did something like this, and
Correct.
you're still young. We're not taking that away, but you're also an NFL player.
But what makes
So
this random is we literally were talking about making this one of our topics, and then Zach Edey from the Memphis Grizzlies, and Memphis has been trending lately because of the trade that just happened. He
yeah,
too got cited for reckless driving, and guess what his speed was?
same thing.
101 miles per hour. It's like, what? So just to push it to 97, that's not, you
That's
gotta
not
get
enough.
over 100. Like, what are y'all doing? And again, it can truly have an impact on somebody's life
Yes.
if
Yeah.
you are recklessly driving and you hit somebody,
Yeah.
because they can't recover that quickly. I mean, that speed is so fast. So two young NFL, NBA players cited for reckless driving at 101 miles per hour. I mean, if that's not random, I just it just it's just not right. And we felt like we should bring this to people's attention because, okay, why do I have a double image of you? Like, what? All right. You came up in my screen twice. So let's just keep moving. But now, the next random is we were talking about fighting in the NBA and the W, and Caitlin Clark's team got into a scrum. They played the Connecticut Sun on Tuesday,
Hmm.
and Caitlin Clark, you see, JC Sheldon, she's behind her. She hit Caitlin Clark in the face, and Caitlin, that was her reaction. Well, Marina Mayberry, which is number 3, ended up coming to her and like literally
Helping her. Yeah.
blocked her, like body blocked her, and so that created a scrum. Um, a technical foul was issued to Marina, and that was that. Okay. Well, later in the game, her teammate Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark's teammate Sophie Cunningham, JC Sheldon, same player who was behind Caitlin, driving for a layup. Sophie wasn't even trying to go for the ball.
No.
Literally pulled the girl by her head and was like,
Now,
yeah, right. So that created more scuffle. Sophie was ejected from the game. JC was ejected from the game, and another Connecticut Sun player were ejected because of just how everything escalated. But what makes this one more random is Sophie Cunningham's jersey yesterday sold out. So I guess people are like, yeah, Sophie is, she got her teammates back, she whatever, but come on.
what is interesting, and this is another randomness to this. So, Sophie, you got your teammates back. Shout out to you for having your teammates back. However, nobody will be suspended. I wonder why, because if they suspended 9 people, who's playing?
That's that's so true. Cause teams have injuries, and then they gotta call up these players that's been sitting at home for a couple months watching the games on TV and bringing them back as hardship players. But that is so true.
So when I saw that, it was like nobody will be suspended for the fight that happened against the Fever Sun. And it's like, yeah, because y'all got 9 players on a roster. half the people in the fights were on the court. So what y'all gonna do?
That's
So
right. That's right. Well, shout out to Sophie Cunningham. Her jersey sold out, and she increased her followers. She's up to over 500,000 followers. And the messaging was not, oh, I can't believe she did that. It was, you go, girl. Way to have your teammates back. We love you. And we're basically advocating for fighting, but whatever.
don't I don't condone it. However, it's Yeah, good job, good job, good job.
So before we finish today, our last random is, did you hear that the Los Angeles Laker franchise was just recently sold?
For a lot of money that people ain't never gonna see or touch. Like, it
Oh my
sounds
God.
good, but what are you going to actually do with $10 billion?
Well, it's funny because we talked about the year 1979. So Jerry Buss bought the Lakers for $67.5 million, which at that time was crazy money.
Buku.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that also included the Forum. I believe the hockey team was included in
Yep.
that. But 1979, he purchased the Laker franchise and they drafted Magic Johnson, and Magic Johnson won. They won a championship that year.
Yep.
They literally won their first year
What a
with the
great
Buss
year.
family as the owners.
Mm-hmm.
You transition to uh, the 21st century. Jeannie Buss, who we're looking at, his daughter, is the governor of the Laker franchise. Jerry Buss passed away, and all his kids are involved in some capacity with the family business.
Yep.
Um, she still is going to be the governor of the Lakers, but basically they sold their majority stake. And a couple programs, franchises have done that recently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dallas did it. Mark Cuban was majority owner. He sold his majority stake. So he's still involved, but he's not the majority owner. Boston just did it
Yep.
last year. They sold their majority right after a championship. It's
Right.
like, wait a minute, they're sold like what? But $10 billion puts the Laker franchise as the
Yes.
most uh, expensive franchise in the history of sport. Period. Period.
Period.
So what's his name? Who's the new owner? What's his
Mark
name?
Walter. Mark Walter. He is the CEO of TWG Global or something. Like, I did a little reading on him, and it's like I believe he has some connections with other LA sports. But yeah, it was just when I saw it, I'm like, dang, 10 billion. Like, and literally my first thought was they'll never see or touch that money. Like, because it's too much money to manage in this lifetime. So it sounds great, like, dang, they sold the Lakers for 10 billion, but really in the grand scheme of things, like, my question is, what does that mean? Like, what does that look like? You got more money to build another arena or bring another team? Like, I don't know, but it random random things
Well,
happening.
what it means is these people's pockets are forever lined. I mean,
Fact.
if the Buss family secured that much money to sell that their majority stake, these kids don't have to worry about nothing, and
Ever.
their kids and their
And their
kids and
kids
their kids.
and 10 generations
So
down the line.
that's legacy.
Yeah.
And to bring this back full circle, when we talk about Juneteenth and legacy with slavery and how black people have now been the torch was passed where we lifted that enslaved mentality. You know, we need to see more minorities as in
The
ownership,
ownership.
because
Mm-hmm.
clearly that is where the money is. Like, come on. So, you know, with the LeBrons and Giannis, he has ownership in the team. Serena Williams, she has purchased ownership in various sporting teams. You know, if these athletes are able to get into that part of the business side, they set their families up forever. So I mean, this
Come
has
on,
been
black people. Yes.
this
Yes.
has been an incredible episode because we packed a whole lot of stuff in these 30 minutes. So shout out to you for doing some research. And I think, was history one of your favorite subjects?
It was not. It was not. Now I love history, just understanding where things come from and how they are, but no, I'm not a historian.
Okay, well, you did a good job. You get an A today. So awesome job. Thank you all for watching. Girls are players too. We are signing off because we probably got some festival or barbecue or something to get to. So
Parade to
let's
get
make it
to.
happen.
Happy Juneteenth.